This video covers finding the perimeter and area of quadrilaterals. As we've mentioned before, there are many types of quadrilaterals. We have squares, rectangles, parallelograms, and trapezoids. Let's take some time to talk about each shape and how to find the perimeter and area of each one. Before we start, I just wanted to remind you, perimeter is the measure of the outside of the polygon, so kind of like if you were going to take a walk around it, how far around would you go? And area is the measure of the inside of the polygon. We're going to start with a trapezoid. A trapezoid has four sides, like all the quadrilaterals we'll talk about in this video. The difference between a trapezoid and some of the others is the only rule for a trapezoid is two of the sides are parallel. There's the only rule. No rule about the sides being the same length or anything, only that you have four sides and two of them are parallel. Okay. When we look for the perimeter of a trapezoid, all you need to do is add up the length of all the sides. So let's start with this example where I have sides that are 16 meters, 13 meters, 26 meters, and 13 meters. The perimeter then would be add up those sides. So 16 plus 13 plus 13 plus 26 would give me a total of 68, and the unit stays the same. It's also in meters. Okay. Let's move on to area. The area of a trapezoid is a little bit trickier. What we call these two parallel sides are bases. So I have two bases, so I call them B1 and B2. And what you can see in this formula is I'm averaging them. So I'm adding B1 plus B2 and then taking half of it to find the average, and then I multiply it by the height. Notice the height is inside this trapezoid and it's perpendicular to both of the bases. So anytime I have a trapezoid, look for what's perpendicular to the two bases because we can move the shape around to make it look a little different at times. Okay. So again, let's try that. So you can see I gave you this trapezoid. The bases are 13 and 29. I have two outside measures of 17, and then I have a height of 15. So now that I find the area, I'm going to take a half, I'm going to add the 13 and 29, and then I'm going to multiply by 15. I'm completely expecting you to use your calculator in this, really this whole chapter that we're talking about geometry. Important that you pay attention and try this as we go along through these videos. So I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're taking the time to try these calculations and pay attention to the order of operations in your calculator. So if you need to, stop me right now, pause this video, and try this in your calculator. Make sure when you put it in that you also get 315. Make sure you're looking at the fact that I'm using parentheses. I want you to also use parentheses so you always get these questions right. So let's take a look at another shape, also a quadrilateral. This one's a parallelogram. So once again, I have four sides, but I'm upping the requirements. So this time I have to have opposite sides that are parallel, and the opposite sides will have the same length. So once again, to find the perimeter, I'm just going to add up all the sides. So let's take this one. I have 8 centimeters, 7 centimeters, and the inside the height is 4 centimeters. If I want to find the perimeter, I just need to use the outside measurements. So that would be the 8 and the 7. Notice that it doesn't also say 8 here and 7 here, like on the top and on the side, but I know that they're going to be the same because that's a rule for parallelograms. So when I actually write it out or put it in my calculator, I want to add 7 and 8 and 7 and 8. So make sure you're duplicating. You have the choice that you could do 2 times 7 plus 2 times 8. That works too. It's up to you how you want to do it. Either way you do it, if you use the times 2 or if you just add them up and have four sides, you would get 30 centimeters. With perimeter, whatever unit you start in is the unit you're going to finish in. So you want to pay attention to units so that you get these answers right as well. Okay, so let's take a look at area. The area of a parallelogram, once again, I have a base and I have a height, and they are perpendicular. So that's true just like it was for trapezoids, same kind of idea here. I don't have to average the bases because they're the same. All I have to do is multiply the base times the height, so I'm looking for that perpendicular relationship. So the perpendicular relationship in this example I have is the 8 and the 4 are perpendicular. So those are the two numbers I want to use together to get the area. So you can see here's how I wrote it out. The area is 8 centimeters times 4 centimeters. So 8 times 4 is 32. And now that I have the centimeter twice, I just want to say that it's centimeters squared. So the squared shows me that I'm talking about area versus perimeter. So here's our next shape, and as we go, I think you're probably getting more familiar with the shapes and things that you use more regularly. So this is a rectangle. So a rectangle also has 4 sides. The opposite sides are parallel and they're also equal. But what's new that we've added is that the corners are all 90-degree angles. So I have 4 right angles, opposite sides parallel and opposite sides equal. Perimeter, again, though, is just out of the outside. So perimeter should always be the easiest calculation of the different things we look at in geometry. So here I have 12 and 7, both in centimeters, as my sides. When I go to look at the perimeter then, I have 7 plus 12 plus 7 plus 12, which gives me 38 centimeters. And again, I just said, notice again, the opposite sides are equal, so we add each length twice. If we move over and say, let's look at the area of a rectangle, well, we're back to what's perpendicular. Well, the length and the width are perpendicular now. So I have my 12 centimeters times my 7 centimeters, which gives me 84, and it's centimeters squared. Okay. So let's look at some application here. So I thought we'd look at a rug. So this is a big rug. It's 9 feet by 6 feet, and it costs $495. A lot of money. So I said, why don't we look at the price per square foot of the rug, see how much it's costing for every foot that we order. So price per square foot. It's always important to look at the words because sometimes you can get stuck. So notice that price comes first and then it says per square foot. Well, I know the price, so that's a check. But I don't know how many square feet I have, so let's figure out the square feet. So square feet is area, right? It says areas, so it's square feet. That tells me a unit. Unit tells me area. So I go 6 by 9 is 54 square feet. Now if I want to do the price per square foot, I need to take the price, $4.95, divide by that area we just found of 54, and it says $9.17 per square foot. So this tells me for every square foot I got, I paid $9.17. Well, what if we said that's too expensive? We're not buying that. Let's get a smaller rug. So here's our smaller rug. It's 5 foot by 7 feet, and this has a price of $295. So let's find out how much they're charging per square foot for this rug. Okay. So we know we need to take the price, $295, and divide it by the number of square feet. So I have to first figure out how many square feet I have. So 5 times 7 gives me 35 square feet. I'm going to take that $295, divide it by the 35 square feet, and it says this is coming to me at a price of $8.43 per square foot. All right, so let's change our idea. And definitely I look up these rugs and the cost per this one is a fence. I do go online and get some prices that make sense for us to do so that I'm not just making craziness up. So for this one, what I found is that fences come in 6 foot wide sections and they cost about $99. So I said, well, what if this was our shape of our yard? And notice it's open in the middle because usually in the middle, that's where your house goes. So we have a little bit on the side, a little bit on the side. We have two, these long parts of 54 and then one all the way across as 60. So what I want to know is how much would it cost to fence the yard as shown in the diagram? Okay. So we're going to have to add this 6 and this 6. I have the 60 all the way around the back, but I want to show the 54 and the 54 for the other two sides to see how I have those twice. So the 60 is only there once, 6 and 6 twice, and then 54 in there twice. That gives me 180 foot of fencing. Okay, so that's a good step. But what we know is that fencing comes in 6 foot wide sections. So I just want to say, well, I don't have to buy 180 sections. I need to buy 180 over 6, which is 30 sections of fence. Each section costs $99, so I say I need 30 sections. They're $99 a piece, which is $2,970. Okay. Well, let's go to our final quadrilateral shape, which is a square. And a square just means all the sides are the same and all the corners are the same. So I have 4 right angles and 4 sides. I usually call side S. So the perimeter would be 4S. I would add S, 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 and S. There's 4 of them. And then the area is side squared. So let's take an example of that. And what if I picked 4.8 inches as my side? Okay. The perimeter and area. So the perimeter, I could add 4.8 4 times, and that's what I did first, 4.8, 4.8, 4.8, 4.8, or you could do 4 times 4.8, gives me 19.2 inches. Or, if I wanted to, sorry, that's it. That was just it, 19.2, sorry, there was no or. The second part is area. The area is 4.8 times 4.8, or, here's where my or is, 4.8 inches squared. You pick which way you want to write it. 4.8 squared was 23.04, and it goes from inches to inches squared. All right, so I thought this was a good time to do a little you try section. So I gave you two shapes, and I want you to just pause the video for a minute. You can stare at this little screen if you want, and see if you can find the perimeter and area of these two shapes. When you've done it, come back and check. Let's see how you did. Make sure we're doing okay before we kind of progress along with a few more things in this section. All right, so we're back. So hopefully you did these on your own, and now we can check out your work and say, well, this first one's a rectangle, and I just want to add up all the sides, and I know, oops, opposite sides are equal, so I have 2.8 and 7, 2.8 and 7, which gave me 19.6 inches. Okay, so inches because it's perimeter. To do area, I want to do 2.8 times 7, so 7 inches times 2.8 inches gave me 19.6 square inches. I kind of like this just because I got the same number value, but differently units because I have inches versus square inches. So I thought that was kind of an interesting look to say, hey, numerically the same, but definitely comparing different dimensions altogether. In part B, I have a trapezoid. So when I'm doing the outside, I just want to go around to 8, 6.6, 12, and 6.6, and it gave me 33.2 feet. When I switch over to area, remember that's where I have to take the two bases and add them together so you can see my 8 and my 12. I multiply by a half, that gives me the average, and then I multiply by this height inside of 6.3. So here I did 8 plus 12, which would be 20. And that looks a little bad right now when I'm looking at it, so let's see if I need to fix something up. And then times a half. And then multiply by 6.3, it makes me wonder what I typed in here. So let's just kind of cross that out and fix this up. I bet I changed something and then didn't fix it right. This should be 63 square feet. So that is now the right answer. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was doing there. Okay, so let's change it up a little. Now that we know quadrilaterals, we can start doing some combinations of shapes because things don't normally work out like real pretty. Like look around any room that you sit in, you very rarely find a room that's a perfect square, a perfect rectangle. There's always kind of some kind of cutouts from a hallway or a door or something. So let's look at what would happen with that. So here I gave you a shape and I said let's find the area and the perimeter of the shape. Before I start doing perimeter of shapes, I like to look at, well, how many sides do I have? So when I'm counting here, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 sides, which says I better add up 6 numbers when I go to do this shape. So there's that. How many sides do I have? I have 6 sides, so I better have 6 numbers. So do you see I added in? This part is 2. Well, how did I know this is 2? Like if you look back, all of a sudden this 2 pops in. It's 4 from here to here, right? So from this top part, this is 4, and I know this is 2. So if this is 2, this has to be 2. That way it adds up to 4. What else am I missing? I'm missing this side over here. And the same kind of thing, I go, well, this was 4, and this is 2. So 4 and 2 tells me that's 6. Now I have 6 numbers to add up. So I have this 4, 2, 4, 2, 2, and 6, which gave me a total of 20. All right. To do the area, I really need to look at this as a combination of 2 shapes, and you have different ways you can cut it. Like I see you could cut it here, you could cut it here. It doesn't matter which way you do it, but here's how I decided to do it, was right here. So I made a rectangle, and then I made a square. Okay, so this square is a 2 by 2, so that's why you see the 2, 2 here, and then this rectangle is 6 by 2. So 2 times 2 gives me 4. 2 times 6 gives me 12. 12 and 4 is 16. So here's another you try. I want you to find the area of the room. So this says, a square living room has a perimeter of 50 feet. What's the area of the living room? So I want you to think about perimeter. I want you to think about the fact that it's square and see if you can figure out how big the room is. And again, pause me, make me be quiet for a minute, then come back and check out, see how you did. All right, so let's look at our answer. All the sides of a square are equal, so I have 4 sides that if I add them up would give me 50, which means if I divide by 4, it would tell me the room is 12.5 foot per side. So if I know each side of the room is 12.5 feet in length, if I square it, it tells me 156.25 square feet. Kind of a normal size room, not a terribly big room, pretty small. This one, I changed it up a little, and I want you to find the area of the blue part of the rectangle. I want you to assume that the triangle at the bottom is an isosceles. So do you see this little like a corner looking thing? I want you to assume this is an isosceles. Here I have a parallelogram, and over here I have a square. All right, so what do we need to do? I need to think, I have this big blue rectangle, and I took out this little corner, I took out this little triangle, and I took out this piece in the middle. So if I subtract the yellow parts, it will give me the blue part. Okay, so we can start piecing together what do we have. So let's start up here. Start with the area of the rectangle, the overall big rectangle. It's 40 by 32, which is 1,280 square centimeters. So make sure you don't lose this one that's over here. All right, the area of the square, so this top corner, is 5.5 times 5.5, which is 30.25. Okay. The area of this triangle, well, triangle, I want to do a half base times height. So a half, my base is 4, my height is 4. So half of 4 is 2, 2 times 4 is 8. And then this area of the parallelogram is just length times, or base times height, length times width kind of thing. So 12 times 8, which is 96. So here, I have a square, I have a rectangle, I have a triangle, and I have a parallelogram. 4 shapes, I love it. All right, so now I need to take this big shape, the 1,280, subtract the 30.25, subtract the 8, and subtract the 96. Okay, so when I do that, 1280 minus 30.25 minus 8 minus 96, I got 1,145.75 square centimeters. So let's have you have a try. I like to do these application problems. So I said, how much would it cost to carpet a rectangular room that measures 20 by 32, and both in feet, if the cost for the carpet and installation, so our combined total, is $10.25 per square foot. All right, so give that a try. See if you can figure out how much it would cost to carpet this room. Let me just warn you, this is a big room. I'm expecting it to be expensive. Pause me, see what you can do. All right, so here we go with our answer. The area of the room, 20 by 32, is 640 square feet. I told you it's a big room. Think about like most bedrooms are about a 10 by 10, which is 100 square feet. That's a lot bigger than that. And then the cost, I would take my square foot, 640, multiply it by the 10.25. It's 6,560. To me, that says ouch. Okay. Let's look at this shape. Here we have a trapezoid. And again, I want you to try. I want to know how much would it cost to put hardwood on a stage if the price per square foot for the flooring and installation is $14.50 per square foot. Again, thinking wood costs more than carpet. So it's 38 feet along this leg, 42 feet down here, and then this overall height is 32. Again, pretty big space, expected to be expensive, but again, pause me for a minute, try this out, and come back and check your work. All right, so here's me starting with the area of the trapezoid. I have a half because it's a trapezoid. Add the 38 and the 42 because they're the bases, and then multiply by 32, that is the height. So you should add 38 plus 42, which gives you 80. Divide that by 2 or multiply by half, it gives you 40. And then you multiply it by 32. I got Here's another one that, let me double check my work because that happens sometimes. 38 plus 42 tells you I need an editor. But sometimes it's good that this happens when we're doing it so we can see double check your work. I can tell you right here I didn't multiply that by half. This should actually be 1280. Alright, so let's kill this too and say this should be 1280. Okay, so here's 1280 and I'm going to multiply that 1280 by 14.5 and it says better than that, $18,560. Whole lot of money, whole lot of money. I'm sorry that I didn't have those numbers right before. It tells you I just forgot to hit the divide by 2 before I typed it all out.